Good evening, everyone, and welcome to College Football Wraparound. I'm Cooper Naylor, and tonight we have a lot to get to, of course. Um, so we've not only got to talk about the game that we broadcasted right here on the network, but we also got to talk about Texas and Alabama. We've got to talk about Miami and Texas A&M. Also, one that may have flown under the radar a little bit, but is kind of a big deal. How about James Madison upsetting Virginia? I mean, we had a crazy week and a lot more. But first, of course, we're going to start out tonight with my Cooper Naylor poll, which I always do. And I'm going to be honest with you. I believe is a whole lot better than anybody else's poll. That's just my opinion. So, right here is my top 10 as of now. And here it is. Of course, it was of course I did put it on the community post Monday. So, it was yeah, I've had it up for a couple days, so you've had a chance to kind of get an idea of where I was leaning with my, you already saw it. But so there it is. Starting at number 1, we've got Georgia. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, we've got Texas. Number 4, Michigan. Really, if you look at the top 10, it's the same as what I've had. It's just Alabama was at number 1. So Bama, of course, moved from number 1 all the way down to 10. And then everybody else in the top 10 basically just moved up a spot. So, um, and people may ask, why do I not like jump teams over one another? Well, partly because I don't believe in that. Because to be completely honest with you, I feel like if you're going to do a ranking, then I feel like jumping one team ahead of another is not fair. So, okay, to clarify on that also, because I had to take a sip of water right there for those listening on the podcast. Um, reason for that is because I believe a win is a win in college football. It's hard to win in this sport, and if you win a game, I'm going to reward you for that. I'm not going to drop you because you win. Because, okay, here's my opinion. People have really disrespected Ohio State in the AP poll. They started number 3. And granted, they won 23-3 over Indiana. Defense played incredible. They dropped them to number 5, folks. Then last week, they played Youngstown State. They win the game. But again, the thing that infuriates me the most is the idea that Ohio State then went from 5 and dropped down to 6. They're 2-0, and they've dropped 3 spots since the preseason. I'm sorry. If you're a win is a win in the sport, okay? I do believe that any of these, besides Alabama or Georgia, Ohio State, I think would be favored against everybody else. That's how I've got it. Because how I've got the rankings right here is how I believe every team would match up against each other. Except, like, you got to take it, for instance, the undefeated teams, okay? Georgia would beat every team that is undefeated behind them. That's my opinion. That's what I think would happen if Georgia were to play any of these teams. But Alabama, although they're 1-1, and I had to drop them 10 because they lost a game, I do believe that they are they're the best team in college football still. Now, Texas did beat them, and they did come into Tuscaloosa. But, and I'll get into Alabama in just a little bit. But I still believe that the way I've got the rankings is I believe this team would beat this team, and that's how it is. So you just have to take my word on it. All right. 11 through 25. Not a lot of change. So no one's been dropped out of the poll like last week, and no one's been so we've just had a little bit of shift. LSU has stayed put. I think when you look at it, believe that Tulane was 16 and I dropped them to 25. That's the only major shift here. So that right there is 11 through 25. A team to watch out for right now. Really, the one, and I'm not sure if this is updated for North Carolina and Minnesota or Oklahoma and Tulsa for the, for which station they're playing on. So I apologize if I don't have that completely accurate. But see, I didn't see anything from anyone else in the sport that I could just completely drop Tulane out. I thought Tulane, they played a home game against Ole Miss, and I thought they played well. So I rewarded them for it and kept them in the poll at 25. Because Tulane's still the best team in the group of 5 right now. So you look at my poll, I believe that it's pretty accurate. And of course, I will get into anything, when it comes to the chat. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. So that is my poll for now. And so we will get more. We'll talk more about my poll in just a little while. Of course, now let's talk about the game that everybody's been talking about. Texas beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, a score of 34-24. And folks, it was a game where Alabama just struggled. It was a game that it just didn't seem like Bama really, most of the time when it comes to a Bama game, you have that feeling Bama's the better team. Texas came in there and basically flipped the script, okay? And you got to give credit where credit's due. Quinn Ewers played a great game. Steve Sarkisian is a great coach, okay? Anyone who wants to sit there and tell you Sark isn't, I don't think there's anybody in the sport who's going to tell you Sark's a terrible coach. No. Look, people were saying he should be fired after, he should have been fired after last year, possibly. And to those people, you're stupid. Look at what they're doing now. They just went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. Okay? Here's the question I have for Texas, because it's the question I think a lot of people are going to ask. Now, I've got them at 3. I'm high on Texas. Texas is a good team. They just went into Tuscaloosa and beat a good Alabama team. The question is, can they continue to have this, are they going to continue winning? Or is this just a one, because I know in the past they've had these games where, and they were on the losing end of these big time games. And they stay close with them. But then they come out and they just play poorly. What kind of Texas are we going to get? Are they going to be this is going to carry the momentum where they actually go and do something with it? I think from the preseason, I thought they would be Big 12 champions. The only loss they would have through the regular season would have been Alabama, which didn't come to fruition. So now, is Texas going to lose at any point? I don't think so. Not in the regular season, at least, and not the Big 12 championship. Texas is the best team in the Big 12 by far. I don't think Oklahoma could do anything to change that. Going back to this game, though, looking at some stats, Texas 23 first downs to Alabama's 18. On third down efficiency, Texas 7 for 18, Alabama 5 for 14. Fourth downs, Texas was 2 for 3, Alabama was 1 for 1. Total yards, Texas 454, Alabama 362. Through the air, Texas 349 to Alabama 255. Completion percentage 24 for 38 for Texas, 14 for 27 for Alabama. Folks. Here's really what changed the game, because it was a 10-point game in the end. No interceptions for Quinn Ewers. 2 thrown by Jalen Milroe. That right there, folks. Rushing the ball, pretty even. 107 Alabama, 105 Texas. Texas ran the ball 37 times. Alabama ran the ball 35. Penalties, another killer. Texas won this. They had 4 for 40 yards. Alabama 10 for 90. Alabama, of course, had the 2 turnovers. And then time possession, Texas 32 minutes, 31 seconds. Alabama 27 minutes, 29 seconds. So on basically every front that's, in the stat column, Bama got their butts kicked to a good Texas team. A good Texas team, folks. Just remember that. Now, people may be asking, is this the end of the dynasty? And this is where, folks, last week, if you remember last Wednesday night, I went on my rant, and it was loud through the microphone because I know it could be ear bleeding if you depending on if you got headphones on. So I'm going to calmly address this. To those thinking the dynasty is over, you are wrong, okay? Because here's the thing. The big thing here is that Alabama played a quarterback who has no grasp of how to play quarterback. Because, let's be honest, go back last season. Jalen Milroe's start against Texas A&M. Go watch that game, folks. Bama should have lost that game, just like a bunch of others from last season. I mean, to be 10-2 after the regular season, that was actually pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Here's the problem for Bama, okay? Milroe right now is not the best. I don't think he's the best option if you're Alabama. Now, the problem that arises is that we really haven't seen Tyler Buchner in this Alabama offense to see, is he actually, in meaningful moments, can he actually provide something for Alabama? Ty Simpson, again, we don't know. But, folks, the thing is that, and the question that arises, why did Saban just sit there and not take Milroe out of the game? And he came out in his press conference and he was like, Milroe had he was confident still, and he felt like he could go out there and still compete and get us back in the game. Okay, that's all and good. It's good to have confidence. But when does it come as a head coach to stand up and say, no, you're not the best option. We're going to play somebody else? That is Saban's job, is to be the coach. Okay? If you're going to sit there and basically put a guy out there because he says he's confident, then, and if he doesn't provide you with what you're looking for, you don't have the best guy out there to be your quarterback. Okay? Milroe's a good backup, and he does good things. But to be in all honesty, he should be running back or tight end. And this is where Saban, and I mean, he's the greatest coach ever, but he's got to realize Milroe's not the guy. It's time to move on from Milroe, or at least move him to a different position, because he can't be the starter. All right. It is now time to move on to the game that I broadcasted Saturday, Colorado and Nebraska. Now, folks, when I tell you that it's just depressing that the first 5 games I've broadcasted have all not been close, it's an understatement, because this was one I thought was evenly matched. Because if you heard me last week, I'm just like, all these people who are already going nuts because they think that Colorado is already one of the best teams in college football, I was furious. And to be honest, watching them play against Nebraska, I don't so much say that they changed my mind on Colorado any, because I don't really see, I mean, I didn't see anything, especially in that first half, that really would change my mind. Because that first half, I don't think they've got what it takes to beat Oregon or USC. That's just my opinion. They don't have it. We'll figure out after this Colorado State game they got coming up Saturday. But it was more about Nebraska they're just not. I mean, Matt Rule is known as a guy who transforms programs. And here's the thing, folks, that Nebraska, to me, this is just year 1 of Matt Rule. It's not pretty. I mean, to be completely honest, it's atrocious football to watch. I mean, watching them is like wanting to just puke. I mean, seriously, it was awful football. And to be honest, when you're talking about a team that, hey, let's try another guy at quarterback, Nebraska's the exact example of a team that needs to go with another quarterback. Jeff Sims, folks, he is even worse than Milroe when it comes to trying to throw the football at all. If I believe correctly, he threw like 2 interceptions in the first half, fumbled the ball, and then at the end he got hurt. And I mean, it was just a game where, to me, it proved, I think Nebraska, their offense wasn't hardly on the field much, in my opinion. Wasn't on there enough. And what ended up happening is that when Colorado hit the football, I felt like they just wore out that defense. And that defense of Nebraska, I feel like it could be so good. But it's just not complemented by a good offense, like a very atrocious offense. I feel like the receivers on Nebraska could be good, but again, they just don't have the quarterback to support them. And I hate it for Nebraska, because this is a team that people want to watch play football. And it's just kind of depressing to see 36-14 to Colorado, Deion's first season, a team that was 1-11 last year. I mean, Nebraska has got issues upon issues, but the thing is, they've got the guy who could bring them back. Like I said, Matt Rule is not known for being like right off the bat, they go out and just be incredible. Like, let's be honest, Baylor, when he took over, I believe went like 1-11. So they're not, it's not time to get rid of Matt Rule at all, folks. For those people who want to get rid of Matt Rule, you would be stupid too. But the honest truth here is that Nebraska just ran into a Colorado team that just has a lot of momentum. And Shedeur Sanders, and I mean, only played against TCU and Nebraska so far, and he's played well. But they got Colorado State. Colorado's got Colorado State Saturday, which I believe is like a 9 o'clock kick for us here in the Central Time Zone. And then the real tests start with Oregon and USC. I believe they're back-to-back. That's the real test. And if Colorado says they're back, they better win those games against Oregon and USC. If you don't, I'll say this. If you beat one of them, then that'll flip me on where I'll say, okay, you know what? I mean, 8-4. 8-4, folks. That would be great for them. But if they don't beat either Oregon or USC, I don't believe it until I see Colorado actually do it. So when it comes to Colorado, I still get, ask me next, ask me later, and I'll see what my opinion on them is. All right. So now this is your opportunity here in the show. If you have any questions, it is now Q&A time. So if you have any questions regarding college football, I will answer them here. So let's look here. Again, I've got a question about rankings, and to be honest with you, Auburn did not prove to me anything. They had their offense looked terrible against Cal, and for that, I still don't think they're better than Tulane. I'm sorry, but Tulane, I think, would beat Auburn right at the moment. So, I mean, take that with whatever you know. Let's see. Will Bama lose again this season? Really, that's a question of, and really, like I said again, if Milroe's the quarterback, yes, Bama will be. With Milroe being a starter, Alabama's a 7-5 team. That's just my honest opinion, okay? Unless Saban got in that quarterback room and really drilled him, I'm sorry. 7-5's like, I mean, with Milroe, he's a crappy quarterback. I'm sorry. I just have to say that. He's a crappy quarterback. Saban, I'm sorry. He's stupid for leaving Milroe in the whole game. Do you think Auburn will beat Texas A&M next week? To be honest with you, they have a chance. I don't know right now. So let's wait and see how this week goes, and then we'll see whether or not I believe Auburn will beat Texas A&M. Also, one thing in this series between Auburn and Texas A&M, I believe that the road team most of the time wins in this series. So I'm not exactly sure where the game's supposed to be played this season. So when I figure that out, I may have a little bit more with that as well. Who is the big upset this week? Could you when you say this week, do you mean this upcoming week or do you mean the past week? Because if you mean this past week, I'm going to dive into what was a big upset this past week a little bit later in the show. So, if you will specify on that a little bit. Would Bama lose to Texas if they play again? No. Because in college football, it is hard to beat a team 2 times in a season. Now, the last time, if I'm correct, that actually happened, if I'm correct, which is a big thing, would have been Alabama. No, I don't know. I don't know the last time. I was about to say Alabama beating LSU in 2012, but that was not. They didn't beat them 2 times in a row. So, I don't know. That is honestly no way. I will say back a few years ago, I think Oklahoma beat Texas twice in the season, maybe. I think they played for the Big 12 championship. I can't remember. Wyoming 12-0 this year. I don't know. This upcoming week. Okay. Let me real quick. I'm gonna get the games pulled up because and my phone wants to freeze on me, so we'll hopefully my phone will start acting right for me. So let me real quick. I'm gonna pull up the games for the week so that we can get a little bit more accurate with what games. So let's see. So we're looking for upset this week. And you know what? I think I found one, folks, that I don't know if I think there are some in the media landscape that may say this is one, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think Missouri and Kansas State could possibly be a game to really watch for, folks. Now, I know Missouri may not really be like, oh, Missouri may be real. No, nobody thinks they're all that great. But the thing is that, and I feel like I feel like this is the game where Missouri, remember how they played Georgia last season? This is one I think similar. I think it's very similar. Okay, let's we're gonna get to, does Wyoming beat Texas? Heck no. Okay, so that does answer it. No, Wyoming will not go undefeated this season. There you go. So, is Dabo Swinney done? The question is, if he starts utilizing the transfer portal a whole lot more than what he does, because I believe he only got like 2 backup quarterbacks out of the transfer portal this past year. Other than that, he doesn't use the transfer portal at all. So I think that he's got to start recruiting more in the transfer portal. If not, then he's got no chance left because everybody's going to the transfer portal. And so I don't know. Let's see. Is Spencer Rattler becoming underrated? A little bit because the offensive line at South Carolina is crap. So he can't do much if the offensive line won't help him. All right. So I hate to really get off of this. Oh, will Caleb Williams commit to draft or stay in college? He's going to draft. Honestly, he shouldn't stay in college. He's going to draft. All right. So I hate to end this quickly, but we do have to move on to other things. I'm about a minute behind already. So let's go ahead and move on. Miami of Florida comes back to beat Texas A&M at home. So I actually do have stats of this game. So let me get this pulled up real quick for you because this was A&M they were dominating this game until it came to the fourth quarter, and then Miami just came back and won the game. All right, when you look at the stats, A&M, like I said, dominated 25 first downs to 16 of Miami. Third down efficiency, A&M 8 of 18, Miami 3 of 9. Fourth down efficiency, A&M was 2 for 3. Miami didn't go for a fourth down. Total yards, Miami 451 to 433 to A&M. Passing yards, Miami 374 to 336. On the ground, rushing 97 to 77 A&M. So looking at this, and A&M even dominated time of possession. So I think this was, and you look at the killer here was A&M turning the ball over 3 times to Miami's once. Again, just like the game with Alabama and Texas, the turnovers killed the SEC team. So it really makes me question, how do these teams expect to win games if you're turning the ball over? Now, when it looks, A&M did dominate in this game for the first 3 quarters. They just turned the ball over. So if you eliminate those turnovers, A&M probably wins the game. Or at least sends this thing to overtime, and then who knows what happens at that point. So really disappointing from A&M. And really, in their first test, Miami got them. You got to give Miami credit. Miami can't, just won the game. And it'll be interesting to see throughout the rest of the season, can Miami actually compete in the ACC? I don't know if they can. Mario Cristobal is doing a great job at Miami, in my opinion. It does. Last year, people were doubting him, though, because of the way that they went 5-7, I believe it was, in his first season. But the thing is, folks, that you got to remember, not all teams turn around in 1 year. Now, it doesn't help that Deion's having the success early, folks, early of what he's having. And if he does end up, having a very successful season, then it hurts new incoming coaches to teams, especially like high-profile jobs like Miami, because then it has this very it's not even you shouldn't say that should be the reality of it, because it's not fair. It's not a fair way to go about hiring a guy, because if you're just going to hire a guy saying, oh, he will turn around in year 1, you can't do that. And that's where Deion is going to hurt a lot of coaches. He's doing great things, but he's going to hurt other coaches in the process. So And then Jimbo is definitely on the hot seat if he can't turn this thing around, because having a 15-point loss to Miami at Miami, don't know if that's going to sit well with the people in College Station. So I think he is definitely on the hot seat now. Depending on how long they're going to ride with this, who knows? I mean, it could be that Auburn game where if he don't do good, who knows? A&M may just axe him then. So, I mean, it'll be interesting just to see whether or not this is the final straw for Jimbo. I really hope not, because I think he did. I feel like the hiring of Bobby Petrino was a great hire. I just hope that Jimbo does not get fired before. All right. So talking about the biggest upset from last week. Now, you may be thinking, oh, well, Virginia's no good. Well, still, it's a Sunbelt team that went to an ACC school and won. It was a 36-35 James Madison win over Virginia. That moves James Madison to 2-0, Virginia to 0-2. Of course, we had Virginia and Tennessee earlier in the season. We all know what Tennessee did to Virginia. But you look at the stats. James Madison, 18 first downs to Virginia 16. Third down efficiency, James Madison, 6 for 14. Virginia, 4 for 13. Fourth down efficiency, James Madison, 0 for 1. Virginia, 1 for 2. Now, here's something that's completely insane, folks. They had the same amount of yards, 395 each. The disparity, Virginia threw for 377 to James Madison's 228. James Madison rushed for 167 to 18 of Virginia. Virginia ran for 18 yards. I mean, the big thing, again, turnovers. Virginia had one turnover to none of James Madison. That right there, that one turnover. The penalties, James Madison, 7 for 56. Virginia, 8 for 80. So, you look at it. Penalties and turnovers are what changed the game. And James Madison, you got to give him credit. I mean, anytime a team from the group of 5 goes into a team in the Power 5 and beats them on their field, that's impressive. I don't care whether it's Virginia or Tennessee. I still think it's impressive James Madison went to that Power 5 school and beat them. Because most of the time, that Power 5 team has their way with that Group of 5 team. That's most of the time, folks. And so, I know most of y'all don't think this is really that big of a deal, as far as because Virginia's just a terrible football team. But for James Madison, this is a big deal for them. This is going to really boost themselves, and really it's great morale for the Dukes. I mean, they are known because they were in the FCS. They played great football in the FCS. I believe they won championships. Like, them and North Dakota State were really like the dominant two of the FCS for years. And then James Madison, when conference realignment begins, they decide they'll join the Sun Belt, which was a big move. And then automatically they came in and it's like they'd been already at the Sun Belt level at the beginning. So, it's impressive. James Madison is going to be here to stay for a long time. And really, this is I think this is very impressive. I would definitely like this right here is going to go down as maybe one of the biggest upsets of the season, in my opinion. Just because, again, Sunbelt team beats an ACC team. It doesn't happen all the time. And when it does, you just got to be amazed by it. And really, the ones who are going to get mad at me are probably more the casual fans who think, oh, well, it's just James Madison. And it's just Virginia. Virginia's terrible. Well, got news. This is a big deal in the world of college football. All right, folks. It is now time to announce what game I'm going to be doing Saturday. And before I reveal the thumbnail, which I will get this all scheduled out for Saturday a little bit later. But it's going to be a primetime game. So, as you know, I did a primetime Thursday night game. I did a primetime Sunday night game. This is the first primetime Saturday night game I'm doing this season. And to be honest with you folks, this, I think, could be the best game at this point in the season that I'm going to actually do. Because these teams, I feel like, are more evenly matched because I feel like they've kind of gone under the radar. And people are going to be, I don't know if people are going to be excited for this one. But you know what? I think it's a good game. So, without a doubt, I will be doing BYU and Arkansas Saturday night, 6:30 right here on the channel. And it's that man on my right here on the screen, KJ Jefferson. He's the guy I want to watch. How is he going to do against BYU? I think this is a fun one. And whether or not people want to remember, BYU's in the Big 12 now. So this is a Big 12 SEC matchup. So this is a Power 5 versus Power 5 team. Like two teams that are in Power 5. This is going to be very interesting. And I'm excited for this, folks. I mean, this is going to be a fun game that I feel like people are going to want to tune in for. So, BYU and Arkansas, 6:30 Saturday night, right here on the channel. I think it'll be the closest game that I've done. So, I think it's a great one. So, of course, we will see how this game goes. So that is the game. So like I said, I'll get it all scheduled out sometime tomorrow. So you will be able to see that. Also, college football wraparound should be coming Saturday. We will get that all figured out as well. So, for those on the podcast, we do want to tell you that we are thankful for you listening to us. And, of course, if you want to watch anything that is live, like our game broadcast or our SB and College Football Saturdays, which is SEC Wraparound and College Football Wraparound, you can tune in on YouTube at Saber Broadcast Network. But for now, you are listening to College Football Wraparound. If you're on podcast, if you're watching live on YouTube, thanks for watching. Of course, we want to thank y'all for being here. That is it for the night. We will see you again Saturday. Goodbye, everybody.